Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. It's Thursday, July the 28th. 2 days to go, Sean. Or 3 days to go. Wait. Thursday, Friday, 3 sleeps. Yay. Come on. Football's back. But there you have it. And I'm joined today by Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW. You know me already. Tony Haggerty, Haggerty10 Twitter handle. Morning, Sean.
How are we, Tony? All right?
You can tell I'm getting excited, eh?
Aye, I mean, you almost asked me a simple maths question there. I was sweating.
Real Fitba's nearly back, Sean, as my dad would say. Real Fitba, son, real Fitba. But there you go. And before we get to the real Fitba, as they say, we will big up our sponsors, OneFootball. Get downloading the link, guys. OneFootball app, your one-stop football shop for scores, match reports, match highlights, transfer rumours, you name it. It's all on the website. You can immerse yourself in the digital football world and have the best personal experience out there. It's a cracking app. I was even on it this morning having a wee shifty about, Sean. It's an excellent app. Get downloading it, OneFootball app, and we thank them for their sponsorship of the programme. And along the bottom, as you can see, along the strap line, we've always got some kind of deal for you guys. £3 for the next 3 months. You know what to do by now. Hit that subscribe button. You can join us at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, Sean.
What to say, Tony? You're getting perfect at timing that.
There you have it. Practice makes perfect, something like that. That's what they say. Now, Sean. Morning, Scott. How we doing? Morning, Helen. Anyway, morning, Narcotect. Looking mighty.
we do make an effort. We do make an effort.
I was going to say I was more thinking the odd couple, Sean, but there you go. But I think Stuart Cosgrove and Tam Cowan grabbed that moniker, didn't they? Scottish football couple, I believe. But there you go. Now, someone's on the move, Sean, from Celtic.
Yep.
Osachi Urhoghide rejoining KVV Ostend. I guess Ange has decided that he's not going to play any part in Celtic team moving forward, and I believe it's a season-long loan with an option to buy at the end of it. I think we've witnessed possibly the end of Osachi Urhoghide at Celtic. Sean, would you go along with that?
Potentially, aye. And you're right to say it's a loan with an option to buy. Although, to be honest, yesterday, as usual, actually, it was the loaning club that actually provided the details. Celtic just kind of retweeted it and said cheerio. But it performed well on loan with them last year, playing primarily as a centre back. And there had obviously been talk earlier in the summer, Tony, that Ostende did want to take him permanently, but it would have been slightly beyond their reach price-wise, that kind of thing. Now that there's a buy clause in that loan deal, you'd like to imagine that it's one that they can meet and it won't be back to square one this time next year, but we'll see. In terms of pre-season, I thought he did okay against Vineyard Victoria, but really that's not much of a gauge, I suppose. He struggled at right back against Rapid Vienna, I thought, as well. I don't know what you think about it. I mean, it was really just those two games.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has some attributes, Sean, but I just don't think he's what Celtic need right now. I think there's a rawness to his game as well. He's a big, powerful unit, but I think sometimes I alluded to the fact he committed a lot of fouls, didn't he? And he got caught out of position a few times, and he can look good striding forward with the ball, and he can make some powerful runs and some powerful interceptions and stuff. But I just don't know. I didn't see him fitting in. I didn't see where he would fit in under Ange at this moment in time, and I think it's sensible to go and get some football. And if he does do well, then who knows? Maybe Celtic might have a change of heart and might not exercise the clause and say no. Would rather have a look at him again and see what he brings to the table. Scott Anderson, it's only the end if we don't get a fee. I think we'll get a nice payment. Yeah, possible, depending on what that payment is. But I agree with Jason Lee. I just don't see where he fitted in, and I don't think he's going to get much playing time. So they're better going away and playing and see if they can improve themselves. Good luck to us. That's just not the level required at the moment. Just say the same thing there, David.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of people's opinions, Tony. I think realistically, another half season at least, if he didn't get a loan deal in this or a permanent deal, obviously, in this window, realistically another half season like first half of the season was on the cards, because he's not getting in at right back ahead of Juranovic or Ralston, and he's not getting in at centre back with Carter Vickers, Carl Starfelt, Stephen Welsh, now Maurice Jent's there, and that's without even mentioning Chris Julian's situation or even the potential of Boston Lowell. So I think it was probably that was on the cards if he didn't get a loan move.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like every loan move and every player that exits the Celtic Park door, you wish them all the best, and you hope that they can go and benefit from the experience and come back a more polished article that makes Celtic, gives Celtic a headache and a question. Say, can you fit in when on your return? Some players have done it.
With the option to buy, that would suggest to me that there's a kind of expectation that he's probably not going to come back and make a difference, and they're fine with Ostende or even another club taking him if he does well enough. But contrast that with the likes of Liam Scales.
Yeah,
there's deliberately not a buy clause in there, even though Jim Goodwin wants one. So I think that leaves the door open for Liam Scales. Not that the door's absolutely closed for Urhoghide, but it's obviously it's more of the exit door that he's been edged toward, if you know what I mean, rather than the door back into Lennoxtown.
Now, speaking of edging players towards the exit door, Sean, who follows him? Albion, the Albion Ayeti question. Is it time that somebody took a punt on him, or is that the problem?
Well, we've had two comments in just before you finished your sentence there, Tony. Two different players mentioned. Patrick McLaughlin is nobody daft enough to take Ayeti yet. There must be a fool somewhere, surely. That's a bit harsh.
He can always go in the wardrobe. He can always go in the wardrobe, can't he?
Narcotech, Julian has to go, and then the door opens for another defender. I mean, both of those are on the list. To me, Ayeti probably is the main one. I think it's a fair shout. Obviously, the caveat being if there's a suitor, which is kind of what Patrick's getting at there. He can score goals. I don't think it suits Celtic. I think that was shown last season. I think the argument of maybe this is the season he makes the difference. I think that was the argument this time last summer. He got a chance, a small chance, but he still got a chance. Scored in the Ross County game and stuff. Went missing in the Dundee United game, which you'll be saying you always bring that up. But I do think that was contrasted with the kind of attitude of Giakoumakis when he eventually got in. So I do think there's a role for him at a team. I think he will find a place where he can score goals again. I don't think he quite fits at Celtic just now. The problem with that is, again, if there's a suitor, I think if he gets maybe a loan to buy deal would be the ideal situation, because, as I say, if he gets the right situation, I think he would do okay. The wage might be a sticking point, as it often is when kind of players might be leaving Celtic but not to go to a team that's richer than Celtic, that kind of thing. So I think, all things being equal, probably Ayeti is one of the names, but there is another couple there as well.
Yeah. Paul Byrne comes in and says, getting all players not in the plans out the door. This will at the very least free up wages, which should be just for one or two more quality players. I agree with that. That seems to be and Narco Texans back in, Ajeti and Joe Nico's big wages, get them off the books and we go shopping deadline day. That seems to be the school of thought, Sean, and I think it's obviously Andrew's school of thought too at this moment in time, because he did promise, or he did say he was still looking to bring in a couple more, and I still see that happening, but it might go to the wire this time.
It could, but yeah, I mean, if it does, it does. I think the majority of the bulk of the business has been done, and it's really supplementing it now. Last summer, lest we forget, the deadline day brought the two best players, arguably, Carter Vickers and Jota.
Yes.
So it's not the end of the world if it does go to deadline day, and you kind of wait and see the squad compositions of, for instance, teams down south, maybe teams, obviously Portugal last year with Jota, but it's not a worrying situation or anything if it goes to the last day.
It's certainly not. But I don't know about you, Sean. I don't know about Celtic supporters. I like a bit of a deadline day buzz with signings coming in. Chasing somebody as long as the deal gets over the line. I know they've chased people and deals have failed to materialise, but I like that kind of waking up on deadline day and thinking, all right, you're going to bring in one more.
I always think it kind of flatters to deceive a lot of the time, and that a good, and I know this is a boring answer, Tony, but I think a club that's got its ducks in a row shouldn't be signing a lot of people on deadline day, that kind of thing. But that's not to say that things won't be presented to you on deadline day that they weren't before that. The likes of Jota, the likes of Carter Vickers, the likes of Robbie Keane. If we go back, I know that didn't end well in terms of the title that season, but Robbie Keane himself was a success. That was a massive kind of deadline day deal. I can see it both ways. I don't put it this way. I don't necessarily stay tuned to Sky Sports News on deadline day anymore. But
no, it's not I guess it's not the box office draw that it once was. But I do think that Celtic have done the majority of their business. It would just be interesting to see if they can produce another said rabbit out of hat. If you say if something presents itself to Ange Postecoglou and he never stops, he's always working. So I'm assuming that he'll be on the case with that, and he might just produce someone.
Yep. Or as Marco Tex says, Ange will have the credit cards ready. I think. As I say, there's other players there you could mention. It's not a given that it'll be a Yeti. Yeah. It depends on shooters. Julien, for instance, is one was mentioned in the comments there. Again, I think that makes sense. It's gone a bit quiet, obviously, since the Schalke thing broke down. But given his situation and wage, maybe it's a case of clubs are doing what we were just talking about there, monitoring him for a bit later in the window. We'll see. Mikey Johnston, we spoke about him a couple of times this week already. A loan but not permanent, or the option to make it permanent is probably what I'd expect to see if it were to go anywhere. On top of that, you've got guys like Liam Shaw. He kind of made an appearance in pre-season there, but hasn't been really involved since. Then you've got Scott Robertson, not involved at all. People like that. So I think more outgoings are a virtual certainty, but as to who and where, that's kind of the intriguing bit.
Yeah, the Julian one's intriguing, isn't it? He has possibly 3 days to see if he'll get a regular diet of first team football somewhere else, or if he's willing to fight for his place and be the team player that all his teammates say he is. That's a really interesting situation for me,
Well, he won't have a choice if nobody comes in from him again. That's I suppose the thing. But given that the reports, obviously it wasn't just a report with Schalke, it was genuine discussions, but he obviously had knocked, or at least kind of said that Schalke was his preference, meaning there was other clubs there. There was rumours and reports that it was in France and stuff. That would suggest that there was an interest in him. So hopefully for his sake as well, because if you want to go, then you're as well going, that kind of thing. But obviously, in terms of the wage bill for Celtic, it does let you have a wee bit of wiggle room in terms of getting somebody else in, even if it's not this window, even if it's next window.
Yes. Now, moving on slightly to Sunday, Sean, it has emerged that Callum McGregor will unfurl the flag against Aberdeen. That's magic. I like the thought of that.
I like it. Yeah, I like it as well. I think there's been some memorable ones lately. I'm thinking, Sean Fallon, Fergus McCann, Danny McGrain, that kind of thing. And I think McGregor realises that, given his comments in the announcement about it being an honour, not just for him, but for his family and stuff like that. I did think it was telling that he used that same announcement to basically just reinforce and mention his thirst to be champions again. So I'm sure that went down well in the manager's office.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I think that the first one was very special for Callum McGregor. He led a special group of guys who were in turn led by a special manager, and that maiden season under Ange with Callum at the helm is a memorable one for all sorts of reasons, Sean. So I think it's quite fitting that it's actually Callum that does it. The only other person I would have seen unfurl the flag would have been Ange himself.
Aye.
I think that's the only other person that would have gone down a storm with the supporters, just for what he did and what he inherited and the way he brought the Celtic team off the canvas. Helen Feeks, well done, Calmac, been a great captain for us. Yeah, Callum deserves it, Brian Roberts. So Callum thoroughly deserves the honour. Retro Celtic, he's been a fantastic captain. Yeah, he has been, and he slipped into, legendary shoes. Yep. Sean and we spoke about that before. Stepped into a guy who left the club with the moniker captor, leader, legend. And I said at least 2 of those 3 are now, you can now level at Callum McGregor. But he's on his way to completing the trilogy, isn't he?
Well, it almost fell in, that I don't know if you believe in fate, Tony, but it was almost fate that Callum McGregor happened to be the moving into that kind of role the season or the summer that Ange Postecoglou came into Celtic, because he is the Ange player that he needs in that midfield. He landed it. Brendan Rodgers obviously saw it. I know he wasn't playing him in strictly the same position, but he saw what Callum McGregor would bring to the team in general, all that kind of stuff. Constantly talked him up. a football playing manager like that. And I know Neil Lennon played him all the time as well, but I just don't think it's a coincidence that Brendan Rodgers and then Ange Postecoglou, with the philosophy that they espouse of both being the kind of most vocal and exactly what Callum McGregor can bring it. And even then, there was obvious, whether people admit it now or not, there was some doubts as to whether he was strictly captain material. I think a lot of that was just because of who he was going to be succeeding. And the key was always going to be leading in your own way, because Kieran Tierney said it and has said it multiple times that even if he was still at the club, he would have expected Callum McGregor to be the captain. And that speaks volumes, I think, in terms of the influence that he's got in the changing room. He's carried that over into the... He always did influence the game, if you know what I mean, on the pitch. But you can see him actively influencing it a lot more as a captain with the armband as well. And I think it's just, as I say, going back to that kind of fate thing, the two of them are a match made in heaven, or a match made in paradise, if you want to put it that way. The Ange Postecoglou, Callum McGregor duo.
Yeah, I think don't think he could have trusted anyone, the welcoming of the new players, and Jason Lee, so much pressure on Callum last season, a man of lesser character would have imploded. Yeah, probably would have, but as you say, there was eyebrows raised and questions formed when Callum McGregor took the armband. People saying, he'll not be as good as Scott Brown, but he never wanted to be as good as Scott Brown. He wanted to be his own man.
Mm-hmm.
And the Aussie cometh the hour, and I think the Celtic supporters really rallied to Calmac as well, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Curran has proven to be a great captain, cool and calm. Yeah, and there was various things that he did, even after the semi-final defeat to Rangers at Hampden. He got all the players together, Sean, didn't he? We noticed that, and he was telling them, right, and then it came out in the wash, people were saying he just told them one bad game doesn't define the season, that kind of stuff. And to do that right away, not just to give a wee kind of soundbite after the game, he got them all together, and there was that camaraderie there. And you saw they were disappointed, but they brushed themselves off, dusted themselves down, and won the title and won the League Cup. So, and he was a pivotal part in that success.
Yeah, as I've said, I've seen all of last season, basically him playing the kind of single pivot role. Certainly with Celtic, you're not doing a lot of traditional defensive spoiling and stuff like that in the league. So he's almost the ideal guy to have in there. But it's his composure and his calmness on the ball, and the fact, certainly the start of last season when Carter Vickers had just arrived, obviously, but Carl Starfelt was finding that a wee bit difficult with the ball playing aspect of playing for Celtic and dominating the ball all the time. And having McGregor there willing and just able to take the ball under pressure, just to alleviate the pressure that the defenders felt, was absolutely key to kind of Ange Postecoglou getting that belief into the players. And he alluded to it. McGregor probably doesn't allude to it because he just thinks that's the way that he's got to go about it and stuff. Ange Postecoglou certainly has acknowledged it. Other players have acknowledged it. And I think I mentioned it to you, and I think it was Andy we were on with last season, about that kind of attitude and that kind of belief in your team was some of the things that, not comparing the two of them, but some of the things that you heard Paul McStay's teammates saying, that even if he had a guy on him, if you were under pressure, and even if McStay had a guy on him, you could give him the ball because you know he's keeping it, that kind of thing. And I think there was an element of that with McGregor, certainly last season. So yeah, I think there's probably nobody better to do it.
And also as well, he got the most ringing endorsement he got, Sean, was from Joe Hart on holiday when he was singing down the phone about Callum McGregor and extolling the virtues of Callum McGregor. So I think there can be no higher compliment than that when Joe Hart is singing about you. What do you think?
Yeah, well, see if he grabs a microphone during the flag unfurling, I suppose. But yeah, just on the McStay thing, did you notice in his the announcement interview that he was a wee bit channeling a wee bit of McStay, saying about a buzz about the place and all that as well?
I did notice that.
Let's make that comparison, Tony. Sacrilege for a lot of people, but still.
Anything to mention the maestro, I guess. Indeed, wonderful footballer for Celtic. Now, Sean, a wee Brucey bonus happened last night for Celtic in terms of coefficient and payments. Now, the wonderful, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, Maravchik67, who knows about coefficients and Champions League breakdown of cash. He said last night, Maccabi Haifa dumping Olympiacos out of the Champions League qualifiers means Celtic will benefit to the tune of £925,000 because of the 10-year coefficient and the way it works. and because the Greek side have gone out, then Celtic get a bump up in the cash that they'll receive. Maccabi Haifa knocking them out over 2 legs. That's a wee bonus that obviously Celtic weren't prepared for, Shawnee.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the case, certainly, that because they were Olympiacos, were ranked higher in the kind of long coefficient table, that it trickles down, so Celtic get more, almost $1 million more, so every little helps. Fine. I
mean, that could cover wages for someone, Sean. Yes, Sean comes here with nice wee earner, indeed, channeling his inner Del Boy there, I think. Nice little earner. Indeed, but it's, as you say, every little helps, and it's a bonus for the fact that they didn't need to kick a ball to get it.
Yeah. That's part and parcel of it. I've just got. I'll mention here. There's a few comments coming in about Aberdeen, and just remember it's Thursday, so tomorrow's our preview day. We don't want to kind of upset the apple cart too much by talking about it 4 or 5 days before it. So just calm down, hold.
Indeed, there'll be plenty of time to talk about Aberdeen, i.e. tomorrow. Jason Lee, Sunday can't come fast enough. Indeed, it can't. But yes, on that note, we shall end today's bulletin. We'll say thank you for the comments. Thanks, guys. We try and read them as many out as possible. And we'll urge you again to download the One Football app. We say thanks to the sponsor of the pod. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys in the community that we've built up on the Celtic way since we've started. Thank you, Sean. As always, first class contribution as well. We'll see you tomorrow and we'll hype it right up, Sean. Sunday, big kick-off. Can't wait.
Yep. Cheers, Tori. Cheers, guys.
Take care.